Since grade 8, every year of my core English class has studied a Shakespearean text: Romeo and Juliet, Merchant of Venice, Julius Caesar, Othello, and finally this year in grade 12, Hamlet. When I asked my friends if they enjoyed reading Shakespeare's plays in class, the answers kind of varied. While there may be no correct response to being a teen studying Shakespeare because everyone has different opinions and opinions are just that, they're subjective, I think it's interesting that the common denominator of all these responses was kind of boring, nice language, and I guess it's important. I know that personally, I've struggled with Shakespearean texts in the past, mostly because I find the language hard to understand.
Dear saint, let lips do what hands do, they pray grant thou.
The characters a little exuberant, and the plot hard to relate to. But this year, something clicked. It was like I finally saw the relevance to modern life that was previously too confusing to understand. While part of me needs to give credit to my teacher and the nature of my class for this, I think there's one guy who really deserves the credit. In my opinion, the Shakespearean play that proves the most relevance to modern teenagers, and perhaps a reason for teens to start reading Shakespearean texts in the first place, is none other than Hamlet. Yes, the young Prince of Denmark, the angsty, indecisive, wronged Hamlet is a classic tragic hero. Hamlet's relatability to today's teenagers is not inherently unique from other Shakespearean characters or plays, but Hamlet's tragic flaws, position of misfortune, and the downward spiral those two factors create are distinct in their ability to garner reaction, empathy, and interest from a teenage audience. Before the 50s rebel, 80s renegade, or 2020s e-boy, there was the tragic hero. The sympathetic, powerful nice guy with one bad trait that causes all the trouble. While the tragic elements of plays could occur by chance, fate, or good old Fortuna spinning her wheel, oftentimes the tragedy of Shakespearean texts is found through the main character's tragic flaw. A tragic flaw, or hamartia from Greek theater, refers to the unfavorable traits a character possesses that leads to their downfall. It could be excessive pride, rashness, ignorance, or in Hamlet's case, inaction and indecision. Hamlet repeatedly fails to make an active choice regarding his poor situation. His uncle killed his father and married his mother. He has been ultimately betrayed, a point which he really likes to make clear.
Thou hast thy father much offended.
Mother, you have my father much offended.
Yet, he doesn't do anything to address his unhappiness. Arguably, Hamlet does decide to do something. He begins to act crazy and irrational and puts on a play hoping to get a reaction of Claudius. However, when given the chance to finally kill Claudius, much like his dagger, he backs away at the last minute. Perhaps the biggest indication of his inaction is the famous to be or not to be soliloquy, where Hamlet, unknowingly being spied on by Claudius and Polonius, contemplates suicide and, true to his philosophical nature, the meaning of life. In the 2000 modern film adaptation, Ethan Hawke stars as the modern Hamlet, who delivers this famous speech in a blockbuster movie store. The visual direction of the scene emphasizes the metaphoric weight it holds within the play and within Hamlet's character. All of the movies in this blockbuster are action, and he doesn't choose a single one. Hamlet's not taking any action. He's passive. He can't make a decision regarding Claudius's life or his own. Hamlet is facing immense pressure, but instead of rising to the occasion, he spends time in the state of self-inflicted purgatory. He utters the phrase,
"Thus, conscience doth make cowards of us all."
This line strikes me as important because it shows how the knowledge and awareness of our actions' implications can sometimes keep us afraid and apprehensive of following through. And this makes sense for Hamlet. The stakes for him are so high, but his inaction isn't doing him any favors. Hamlet's indecision is causing this emotional pain and anxiety, but his fear is also keeping him from making a choice in the first place. This is a harmful cycle that causes Hamlet's angst and is yet again relatable to the teen experience. I know it's probably more reasonable for a teen today to identify more with not being able to choose a movie to watch than with avenging their father's death and killing their uncle, but I still think the to be or not to be seen is critical in understanding Hamlet's relatability. Today, pressure from schools and from parents can oftentimes lead teens to struggle with making good choices, or even a choice at all. I know that personally, since the beginning of my high school career, I've struggled making decisions on what class to take, what friends to talk to, and especially now, what university to go to. And I know I'm not alone with this. Many teenagers face the same decisions that I have, and many teenagers have been diagnosed with anxiety and depression as a result of feeling pressure both academically and socially. Anxiety, depression, and various pressures have led teens to many harmful habits, And while I'm not here to make an anti-drug PSA, I think it's important to note that many teens turn to alcohol, nicotine, and other substances as a way of escaping the issues that they face and the decisions that they have to make in their daily life. This, again, relates back to the to be or not to be speech, and conscience is making a coward out of all of us teenagers. The awareness of societal expectations, as well as the expectations from parents and teachers, are making teens today anxious and apprehensive about taking action within their lives. It's much easier to avoid our issue and be inactive than it is to make a decision. So maybe this is why Hamlet is such a relatable character for teenagers. It's comforting to sit in class and read about someone who's just as indecisive as you are. But while indecision is a common trait amongst teenagers and a relatable one, we don't want to end up like Hamlet. I think this play's significance is found not only in its relatability to teenagers, but it's a cautionary tale. Unlike Hamlet, we need to overcome indecision and inaction in order to make a difference in our own lives, but also in the greater world. As the story goes, Hamlet's uncle Claudius has killed his father and married his mother and assumed the throne he would have inherited, all while Hamlet is away at university. Hamlet's position of being betrayed by those intended to protect him is profound within the modern teenage experience. Climate change, LGBTQ+ rights, mental health awareness, these are the issues of our generation. Teenagers are fighting for the causes they care about because, like Hamlet in Denmark, they feel left behind by the governing bodies who are supposed to protect their freedoms. Like Hamlet, being a teen in 2020 can mean being a victim of circumstances that feel unfair and unchanging. However, the leaders I showed before are the standouts. They overcame their situations of misfortune, as well as personal struggles, and begged for their voices to be heard among powerful ears. By standing up for what they believe in, they showed courage and took action despite fear and anxiety that engulfs kids today. But unlike Hamlet, they took action to escape their unfortunate circumstances, and they've had a global impact. Something rotten is in our world, but only the people who rise up will have any say in how it changes. So, we understand why we're like Hamlet, and why we need to not be like Hamlet. But why do we need to study Hamlet? Personally, I think there's an argument to be made about the direct correlation between the themes found in Shakespearean theater and the modern adolescent experience. Love and romance, friendship and betrayal, lies and manipulation, rage and angst. I could easily be describing season 2 of One Tree Hill just as much as I'm describing the many relatable themes found in Shakespearean texts studied over my high school career. It even seems that every major studio in the late 90s and early aughts recognized the relevance of these plays and sought to create modern adaptations. These movies have more in common than the fact that Julia Stiles stars in all of them. They are written and curated for a teen audience. They star young actors set in modern times, and they develop the relatable themes I mentioned before. Studios recognize that teens wanted this type of content. The stories from Shakespeare's plays are more relevant than ever, yet it's Hamlet that resonates with me the most. And I think it's Hamlet that's most important for us to read as high school seniors. While it's easy for us to resonate with his tragic flaws and the sad reality of a situation, it's important that we go beyond relatability to learn the important and timely lesson that Hamlet can teach us. We need to act now. We can't let indecisiveness or fear get in the way of us taking action and standing up for the issues that face us personally and the unfairness within our world. If you're a teenager and you've had trouble finding Shakespeare or any older text difficult to understand or boring and wants to try again, I think Hamlet is a great place to start. It's not only a rich play with so much to unpack that I would love to talk more about, it's overwhelmingly important to understand the modern applications for teens today, to not become victims of circumstance or slaves to our own mistakes and passivity, but to rise above and conquer our issues moving forward. Unlike Hamlet, we as teens today aren't asking to be or not to be, should we live or die, but rather, what is it that we're living for, and how? How can we ensure the unjust and unfair circumstances are made right? How can we create and protect the future we want to forge? We learn from Hamlet's tragic flaws and the rotten state of Denmark that in order to do this, we must make a choice and take action.